Many years ago, in the heart of Umueze town, lived a man named Chuma. He was a man many people envied. He had built his life from the ground up, running a successful car spare parts business and living in a spacious bungalow at the heart of town with his wife Isioma and their 2 children. More than anything, Chuma was known for his discipline. He didn't smoke or womanize. He was also not one to loiter around or waste time in public places. In fact, many people in the town joked that Chuma was too holy to be real. But what they didn't know was that his clean image was not just about pride. It was because he had once seen how public places and alcohol ruined his father's life. His late father, who was once a brilliant mechanic, had drunk himself into madness, and so Chuma vowed never to taste beer, never to enter a beer parlor, and never to keep company with idle men. But fate, they say, is stubborn. It all began one Tuesday afternoon. Chuma had just returned from Onitsha market when an old friend walked into his shop. Uche was Chuma's childhood friend, but they had grown apart due to obvious reasons. Uche was the very opposite of Chuma. He had been to prison twice, once for fighting and another time for fraud. But he always came out with stories that made people pity him and shake their heads. Chuma one name Uche boomed and clapped his old friend on the back. "You just dey shine like say you win lottery." Chuma smiled politely. "Uche the boss, longest time. Where did you vanish to?" "I just landed from Enugu. Business is really dry, but man will not die." "Guy, how far? You don't blow finish oh." They laughed and chatted for a while, with Uche showering him with false praise and long tales. "Guy, you are too serious so. Are you not tired of this your holy life? Come, let's relax small at a corner, just for small drink." Chuma frowned. "Uche, you know me, I don't drink." "Who said you are going to drink?" Uche shrugged. "Just follow me to cool your head. There is one fine joint at the junction with clean environment, sweet music, and pepper soup that will make your head forget stress. You can just take malt or water safe." Chuma hesitated. Something in him said no, but he looked at the time. It was 4:20 p.m. Business was slow, and so he thought, it's just once, there should be no harm. "All right," he said, "just 1 hour. I'll just follow you there, but I won't take anything." Uche grinned like a devil who just caught a scent. "Correct, guy. You will thank me later." That evening, they walked to the edge of the town where a low zinc-roofed building stood. It had tinted glass windows, and music floated softly through the air. Outside was a faded sign that read, "Mama B's Joint, home of tastes, touch and time." Chuma paused at the door. Something felt off. A cold breeze touched the back of his neck, and for a second, he heard his father's voice in his head. "Avoid that part, son. Some places don't forgive mistakes." But Uche pushed the door open with a smirk and dragged him inside. And that was the moment Chuma's life began to change. As soon as Chuma stepped into Mama B's joint, a wave of something unfamiliar washed over him. The place wasn't the kind of noisy, dusty beer parlor he had always imagined. It was clean, too clean. The floor tiles sparkled. There were walls painting of women in wrappers pouring palm wine, and beside them, bold words in italic script that read, "Drink to forget, taste to remember, love to lose." The message confused Chuma, but he shook it off. There were about 5 tables inside. At one, 2 men laughed loudly over plates of cow leg and nkwobi. At another, a woman in a red mini-gown with a tribal mark under her eye slowly licked a spoon of soup without taking her eyes off Chuma. Is this where you talked about? Chuma asked. Uche grinned and nudged him. This place is paradise. Calm down. Mama B will take care of us. As if summoned, the curtain behind the bar parted and Mama B stepped out. She was not what Chuma expected. Mama B didn't look like a beer parlor woman. She was elegant, maybe in her late 40s. Her makeup was flawless and she wore a wine-colored trouser and a fitted blouse that exposed the top of her chest, where a large tattoo of a snake curled beneath a cross. She smiled at Uche. Uche, my darling. Then her eyes turned to Chuma. Ah, this must be your friend. You didn't tell me he was this fine. Chuma cleared his throat awkwardly. He's married, Uche laughed. He's a holy man, but don't worry. He will take malts. Mama B giggled and clapped once. Just then, a young lady appeared. She was slim and strikingly beautiful. She walked with her eyes fixed on Chuma. This is Boma, my daughter, Mama B said proudly. She will take good care of you too. Boma's voice was soft like butter melting on hot yam. Should I bring malt, sir? Or do you want something special? Chuma hesitated. Malt is fine. She nodded and swayed her hips away. Guy, Uche whispered. Did you see how she was looking at you? Are you afraid of women? Chuma frowned. I am not here for that nonsense. But his eyes followed Boma anyway. He was human, and Boma was a dangerous kind of beauty. Their drinks soon came. Chuma's mouth was ice cold and already opened. Boma smiled as she placed it in front of him. This is customer special from Mama B herself. Chuma took a sip and nothing seemed strange at first. It was sweet, refreshing. After all, it was just malt. The evening went on. The music changed and Boma returned again and again, touching his shoulder gently, adjusting his chair and asking if he wanted pepper soup. Chuma kept saying no, but the drink started to make him feel lighter, warmer and a little too relaxed. At some point, he looked around and realized he hadn't touched his phone in over 1 hour. He didn't care. His head floated like a balloon on a calm river. Even Uche was beginning to look like a philosopher in his eyes. Mama B sat quietly at the far end of the room, watching him and smiling. Later that night, Chuma staggered into his compound. He couldn't remember when he left the beer parlor. He couldn't remember what he said to Boma before he left. He couldn't even remember paying. Isioma rushed out, furious and relieved. Where have you been? I called you 15 times, but your phone was off. I was with a friend, Chuma mumbled. Don't shout, please. My head is aching. He went straight into the room, collapsed on the bed, and slept like a log of wood. However, in the morning, he woke up to find a red stain on his pillow. His nose had bled overnight. His phone was still off, and his ATM card was missing. He blinked in confusion. Something wasn't right. For the next 2 days, Chuma stayed away from the beer parlor. The sudden nosebleed, the missing ATM card, and the strange memory gaps haunted him. Something wasn't right. His head still felt cloudy, and every time he closed his eyes, flashes of the beer parlor appeared. Boma's eyes, Mama B's smile, and the flicker of red lights at the bar. He wanted to tell Isioma, but how would he explain it? That he disobeyed her warnings and went against his principles, or that he followed Uche to a beer parlor and couldn't even remember coming home? Instead, he told her he misplaced his wallet at work. She stared at him for a long time and then simply said, I don't like what I'm feeling, Chuma. You are not yourself. By Friday evening, something stronger than curiosity began to tug at him. His body itched to return to the beer parlor. His mind kept wandering to the cold malts, the dim lights, the soft music. But more than anything, Boma's voice replayed in his head like a beat. He couldn't even remember what she said. He could only remember how she said it. He tried to shake it off, but then Uche showed up again like the devil. "Guy, you just disappeared. What happened?" Chuma stared at him coldly. "Uche, my card went missing that night. My head was not clear. What did I even drink?" Uche laughed too casually. You just took malt now. Or does malt have alcohol again?" "I am serious, Uche. I think something was in that drink." Uche dropped the smile and lowered his voice. "My guy, calm down. Stop acting like a small boy. That place is a premium joint. The people who go there are big men. Oh. If you are paranoid, then don't go again. But let me warn you, if you continue being this uptight, you might run mad soon. Sometimes a man needs to cool off." Now, that sentence stung, and it stuck. Chuma didn't reply. He just looked away, fighting the urge to go back. Meanwhile, deep inside Mama B's private quarters, a wicked conversation was happening. Mama B sat behind her carved wooden table, burning a black incense that filled the air with a strange sweet smell. On her table were three things: a red candle, Chuma's photo, and a tiny glass bottle filled with brown powder. Uche sat across from her looking nervous. "Are you sure this thing will work?" Mama B hissed. "Do you know how many men have passed through this place and disappeared like vapor? You just bring them and leave the rest to me and Boma." "But this one is strong, oh. He has a prayerful wife." Mama B's eyes darkened. "The stronger the wife, the sweeter the fall. We will confuse him slowly. You want him to fall, Abi?" Uche nodded. "I want him to lose everything. His shop, his wife, and his mind." Mama B smiled. "Then let Boma handle him. Tonight, she will serve him the second drink, the red one. That one makes a man believe the lie is sweeter than the truth." She picked up Chuma's photo, stared at it, and whispered something under her breath. That night, Chuma sat alone on his couch, watching the ceiling fan turn slowly. Isioma and the children were asleep. He picked up his phone and dialed Uche. "Is that joint still open?" he asked. Uche laughed on the other end. "It never sleeps, my guy." And that was how Chuma went back to Mama B's joint at 9:41 p.m. The air was more seductive and Boma was already waiting. This time, she wore a red gown that clung to her body like a second skin. Her eyes met his, and she smiled like she had been expecting him all her life. "My special customer, you came back." Chuma sat down nervously. She didn't ask what he needed. She simply brought out the red drink. "This one is on the house," she said. Chuma hesitated and then took a sip. It was sweet and tasted of strawberries and something spicy. 30 minutes later, Chuma didn't care that he was married. He didn't care where he was. All he knew was that Boma was beautiful and attractive. Her hands was on his lap, and her lips were dangerously close. The last thing he saw before the memory blackout was Mama B standing by the curtain, smiling and nodding like a queen who had just conquered a kingdom. The next morning, Chuma woke up in a car, not his own. He was parked in front of his shop, and he had no memory of how he got there. His shirt was unbuttoned, his phone was dead, and on the dashboard was a note written in fine red ink. "Come back soon, lover boy, Boma." He crumpled it quickly and threw it away. Strangely, that day, when he tried to concentrate on work, he couldn't even remember how to calculate change for a customer. His mind was no longer his own. The morning after Chuma woke up in the strange car, Isioma stood by the kitchen sink, silently washing plates. but her mind was far from the soapy water. She had barely slept that night. Her husband was changing, slowly and dangerously, and she didn't need any prophet to confirm it. He now mumbled in his sleep. He laughed at jokes that weren't even funny. He stared at walls like someone having silent conversations with spirits. And worst of all, his once gentle and innocent eyes now carried something dark, something she couldn't name. He had returned home late the previous night again, barely responding to her questions. "Chuma, are you cheating on me?" He didn't answer. He had just gone to the bathroom, taking a cold bath in silence, and collapsed into bed like a tree cut from its roots. That night, Isioma had a dream. She was walking barefoot on a narrow road surrounded by thick bushes. The sun was high, but the path was dark. She heard a female laughter coming from behind her, but when she turned, there was nothing there. Then she saw Chuma without any shirt on, limping into a beer parlor made of red clay, with smoke rising from its roof. A woman in red was calling him, holding a calabash filled with dark liquid. Just as he reached for it, a snake shot out of the cup and bit him. Isioma screamed in the dream and woke up gasping, drenched in sweat. She looked beside her, and Chuma lay calmly snoring as if nothing was wrong. But she knew something was very wrong. The next morning, Isioma took a bold step. She went to see Pastor Ebuka, her family's spiritual guide. As she narrated what was happening, the pastor didn't interrupt her. He simply listened. When she finished, he spoke up. "Your husband has been spiritually poisoned. There is a strange woman feeding him lies in the spirit. His mind is being manipulated." Isioma's eyes widened. "Is he under a charm?" Pastor Ebuka nodded. "Yes, a seduction charm. But that is not the worst. They don't just want his body. They want his soul, his blood, and his destiny. His spirit is under siege already. And if nothing is done, he might lose everything, including his life." Isioma broke down in tears. "What should I do, Pastor?" "Start a silent war," he said. "Fast for 7 days. Midnight prayers. Use Psalm 91 and 35. Don't confront him yet. Just watch. God will expose them." That evening, Isioma returned home and began her secret prayers. She didn't confront Chuma anymore. She just smiled and prayed. But as her prayers intensified, strange things began to happen. The first night, she woke up at 2 a.m. to pray. As she knelt to pray, the bulb in their bedroom exploded. The second night, she saw a black cat outside their compound. It stared at her without blinking. Then, it walked backwards into the bush. The third night, Chuma screamed in his sleep, holding his throat as if someone was strangling him. When she shook him awake, he had tears in his eyes and was breathing fast. I saw a woman dragging me down into a pit," he mumbled in his sleep. But by morning, he brushed it off as just a mere dream. On the fourth night of Isioma's fasting, Chuma became restless. His head began to ache. He lost appetite and forgot where he even parked his car. He tried to call Uche, but the number was switched off. When he returned to Mama B's joint, things felt different. The music sounded off-key. Boma smiled at him, but he noticed her eyes were red as if she hadn't slept. Even Mama B didn't come out that evening. "She's resting," Boma said. "She's not feeling well." She handed him a new drink, but this time, Chuma hesitated. Something deep inside him began to wake up. He suddenly stood up. "I need to go." Boma tried to hold him. "Are you okay?" But he didn't respond. He walked out, got into his car, and drove home like a man being chased. That night, as Isioma folded clothes, she noticed a sachet of powdered substance in Chuma's drawer. It was sealed, and the writing on it was in a language she didn't understand. There was also a small black velvet pouch under the bed, tied with red thread. Her heart pounded. She took it straight to Pastor Ebuka the next morning. He opened it and froze. This is a blood charm. They are binding him through bodily fluids. But thank God it didn't fully settle. Your prayers have disrupted their plans. He gave her anointing oil and some specific scriptures. Continue praying. Don't stop. You are saving your husband from death. From the outside, Chuma still looked like a man who had everything in place. A good business, a beautiful home, a respectful wife, and 2 lovely children. But on the inside, he was falling apart like a tired ceiling in rainy season. His nights were restless, his thoughts were scattered, and his memory was faulty. Sometimes he would find himself driving towards his shop and then suddenly divert to Mama B's joint without planning to. His hands would grip the steering wheel, but his heart would be dragging him somewhere else. And Boma was no longer just a pretty face now. She had become a drug. Every smile, every wink, and every whisper from her left him weaker. Her voice echoed in his dreams, and he would wake up sweating and yearning for her. That weekend, Chuma sat alone at the beer parlor while Boma brought him fried snail and chilled wine. She wore a tight dress and knelt beside him. She placed a soft hand on his thigh and said, "I have missed you." Chuma blinked. "But I came yesterday." "Yesterday feels like last year," she replied. She kissed his cheek and whispered, "I have news. I am pregnant." Chuma froze. "Pregnant?" She nodded. "I didn't plan it. It just happened. I didn't even know I was ovulating. I swear, I'm not lying. You can ask Mama." And like clockwork, Mama B emerged from the back, walking slowly and dramatically. "My son, it is true. We have tested her. She is with child, your child." Chuma's chest tightened. 1,000 thoughts ran through his mind. How? When? What now? What about Isioma? What would he do? Mama B continued, "You are a responsible man. I know you will do the right thing." Chuma stared at the red wine in front of him and pushed it away. His stomach burned. That same evening, Isioma stood by the window staring at the moon. Her spirit was troubled. She didn't know why, but she had a strong feeling that something terrible was about to happen. She lit her candle and opened her Bible again to Psalm 35. "Contend, Lord, with those who contend with me." She prayed with tears in her eyes, calling Chuma's name again and again. Then she dreamt. In the dream, she saw Boma wearing white, rubbing her belly and laughing wickedly. A snake crawled around her feet, while Chuma stood behind her, blindfolded and smiling foolishly. From the bush, Isioma ran and tried to shout his name, but no sound came from her mouth. She woke up choking on her own saliva. This was no longer a dream. It was a warning. 3 days later, Chuma walked into his shop and found a brown envelope on his desk. Inside was a letter with no name or sender. The words were printed in bold red ink. "You are sleeping with fire. Wake up before it burns your entire house. We know what happened to Mr. Okoye. Do you want to be next?" Chuma's hands trembled. He knew Mr. Okoye. He was a wealthy man who disappeared mysteriously 2 years ago, and his last location was rumored to be Mama B's beer parlor. Chuma dropped the envelope and locked his office immediately. His heart was beating fast. Suddenly, Every word Isioma ever said came back to him like thunder. Every warning and every suspicion. He grabbed his car keys and drove to the police station. At the station, Inspector Timi listened patiently as Chuma explained the situation in bits and pieces, leaving out the pregnancy. The inspector frowned. "You are not the first man to mention that place. We've been watching Mama B and her daughter for a while. We believe there is a network of charm, seduction and blackmail at work there. Some say it is ritual, while others say it is extortion. But we have nothing concrete. They cover their tracks well." "Can you protect me?" Chuma asked. Timi nodded. "We can do better. We can set a trap. But you must play along. One wrong move and you might not survive this." That night, Isioma was waiting at home. She had just finished bathing the children when Chuma walked in, holding his head. "I need to tell you something," he said. Isioma looked at him and said, "Sit down." But before he could speak, she spoke first. "Boma is not pregnant. The Lord showed me. She's just lying. She wants to tie you down and destroy you. That place you've been going to is a graveyard of destinies." Chuma collapsed onto the floor and cried. "How did I get here? Isioma, I don't even know when it started." Isioma knelt beside him and pulled him close. "You've not gone too far. But we must fight them now, spiritually and physically." Now that Chuma was fully aware of the danger he was in, he worked closely with Inspector Timi and Isioma. The plan was simple but dangerous. He was to return to Mama B's joint with a hidden microphone. The police would be stationed outside, monitoring every sound and waiting for an admission, anything that they could use to arrest Mama B and expose her network. That morning, Isioma knelt beside Chuma, held his hands and prayed with all her heart. "Father, no evil will swallow my husband. Every power using his image in the spirits, scatter by fire. Let him be invisible in the realm of darkness. Protect him, O Lord." Tears ran down her cheeks as she anointed his forehead, his feet and his hands. "I forgive you, Chuma. Just come back to us. Come back alive." Chuma couldn't speak. He only nodded and walked out like a soldier going to war. Meanwhile, inside her dark room, Mama B sat cross-legged on a goat skin, holding a calabash of water mixed with ashes. The surface reflected Chuma's image, but it wasn't stable this time. She frowned. Something had changed. She threw a bone into the calabash and chanted under her breath. Suddenly, the water turned black. Her eyes widened. "He has been cleaned." She sprang up and called for Boma. "Get ready. Tonight, we will test his loyalty. If he fails, we'll finish him immediately." At 8:42 p.m., Chuma walked into Mama B's joint for what he knew could be his last time. His heart pounded nervously. He wore a casual shirt with a tiny microphone hidden underneath. Outside, Inspector Timi and two undercover officers waited in a parked car. The beer parlor was unusually empty. Boma came out first. She didn't smile or flirt. She walked up to him and said, "You brought something with you tonight." Chuma's heart skipped. "I don't understand." She looked at him squarely. "You've changed. The way you walk, the way you look at me. You've been talking to someone, right? A pastor or the police?" Chuma swallowed hard. "I just came to see you, that is all." She stared at him for a long time and then walked to the back. Mama B came out and sat with him. "Chuma, so after everything, you brought strangers into my house?" Chuma tried to deny it, but she raised her hand. From the back, two huge men appeared holding iron rods. "You think I don't know? You think you can eat and run?" Mama B shouted. Chuma stood up and backed away slowly. "I don't want any trouble." But it was too late. One of the men lunged forward and struck him on the shoulder with a rod. He crashed into the table and blood spilled from his forehead. Outside, the police were already on alert. "Move in," Inspector Timi shouted. As the officer stormed the building, a fight broke out inside. Chairs flew, bottles smashed, and screams filled the air. One of the thugs tried to flee through the back door, but was tackled by a police officer. Boma disappeared into the night, while Mama B ran towards her shrine room and grabbed a bottle filled with dark liquid. She tried to drink it, but Inspector Timi was faster. He shot the bottle from her hand. Mama B and her two thugs were arrested on the spot. Inside the back room, officers found some shocking evidence: pictures of men, blood-stained clothes, charms, and a black notebook with names, dates, and coded amounts beside each name. Chuma's name was the next in line. When Timi flipped the last page, he froze. Mr. Okoye's name was there too, crossed out. Under it were the words, "Sacrificed." Meanwhile, Chuma was rushed to the hospital. His head was bleeding and his arm was fractured. Isioma stayed with him all through. Mama B never spoke again after her arrest. She sat in her cell, staring at the wall and laughing like someone who had lost her mind. Boma was declared wanted, while Uche vanished into thin air. As for Chuma, even though he had survived, he knew he had lost something: his pride, his respect, and his peace. He sat at home most days in shame. Customers had stopped coming to his shop, and rumors were flying. Some said he had slept with a witch. Some said he was part of the cult, while others said he was mentally disturbed. But the worst pain came from within. Every time he looked at Isioma, guilt wrapped around his throat like a belt. But she never insulted him or mocked him. She simply loved him. Every morning, she would serve his pap, sit beside him and say, "You are still my husband. You made a mistake, but God showed mercy. Let's walk the path of healing together." And that broke Chuma even more. One day, Inspector Timi paid him a visit. "We've gathered enough evidence. Mama B will not see sunlight again, but we are still searching for Boma." Chuma nodded quietly. "She will come back. She won't rest. I saw it in her eyes." Timi agreed. "You are not wrong. But next time, you won't be alone. You have people watching your back now." And then, 2 weeks later, a strange thing happened. Isioma had gone to the market and the children were in school. Chuma was alone at home when he heard a knock. He stood, walked to the door, opened it and froze. Boma was standing there dressed in a black gown with no makeup or earrings. Her eyes were wild. "You thought you could destroy us, but you don't know. Once a man drinks the red wine, a piece of him stays with me. It's my blood." Chuma stepped back. She moved closer and held up a bottle. "I brought your last drink, Chuma. Take one sip, and all this confusion ends, just like old times. There will be no wife and no worries, just you and me." Chuma backed into the living room and reached for the Bible. "You don't belong here. Leave before something leaves you." Boma hissed like a snake. "You will regret this." Just then, a loud bang shattered the moment. Isioma had returned with Inspector Timi and 2 policemen. Boma tried to run, but they were faster. She was restrained, handcuffed, and dragged away. But she kept screaming, "You will see me again, Chuma! I will return! You drank my blood!" Chuma sank to his knees and cried, "I am free! I am finally free!" Weeks later, he reopened his shop and slowly business began to pick up. Meanwhile, Mama B died in prison while Boma remained locked away in a psychiatric hospital, screaming Chuma's name every night. As for Uche, he was last seen in Cotonou selling phone accessories under a fake name. Thank you for watching the story. Kindly share your thoughts about the story with me in the comment section. What lessons did you learn from the story? Share the story out with your loved ones and give the story a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel if you've not done so by now. Until I bring another story your way. Bye!